You can view the video of this podcast on Jazz Cabbage's YouTube or Facebook pages. Welcome to Jazz Cabbage Cafe,
Yes.
everyone. I'm Rick Thompson. Jamie Lowell is joining us. Deborah Young, Colin McDougall, and notorious Nick Zettel is here from the Hash Bash.
Well. And we will get to that in a little bit. That's what the whole show is going to be about. But I do want to mention that we are one step closer to achieving the level of production and technical fluency that we're trying to get to. The company is officially formed. There's an account now. And that was the next step that was needed before bringing in some sponsorship funds to help out with that stuff. And then there's going to be more, and there's going to be probably, maybe something I'm overlooking, but I really do want to appreciate those who have been hanging on. The Botanical Company, a big one, and also would mention, and we'll bring it up again later on, we're going to be broadcasting from Franklin Fields, which is the cultivation operation that's involved in the vertically integrated umbrella with the Botanical Company as the retail store. And so we'll be there next week, and there's been an entry into High Times, and we're going to celebrate that, and we're going to get to check out the medicine that has been produced in a certain area that's not on the parcel, of course, and it's going to be a blast. So we'll talk about that. Grow Green Michigan, we are going to do I talked about it before, kind of like a grow and keep an eye on it and learn something potentially, whatever. I think the first one's going to start off with some autoflower stuff and all the components, the tent and materials and things like that. Grow Green's going to help facilitate with the vendors to get donated for this project too. So that's going to be pretty cool. Talked to Derek Gauchi. We're looking at getting the studio scenario up and running again to help out with production and that kind of stuff too. I also want to thank Detroit Nutrient Company. They're ready to go. They're excited that we took this next step and are ready to start doing this stuff. Redemption Canna, of course, can't say enough about that particular line of high quality cannabis products, plus the guy behind it, Ryan Basor, and his foundation. Also working with Sons and Daughters on a expungement scenario called Great Lake Expungement Network, and I'm helping out with that also. I'm excited about that. I also want to thank Real Leaf Solutions. They're one of the commercial cultivator operators out there who we recognize as being great caregivers for a long time. We learned how to kind of scale up and bring great medicine into the commercial world with the right intentions and philosophy and things like that too. So there's going to be more. And the following week after next week, we're going to be at Apothecary. And that's going to be a cool day too. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. I want to mention that Rick and I visited the Northeast Michigan Normal Chapter meeting recently and hung out with those guys. They raised some funds for their chapter. They could just continue to be great. And I just want to recognize those guys for continuing doing the work. And I thought it was a really good meeting. Trina Moss also on the board of Normal. I believe she's still on the board, isn't she, Rick?
She sure is, yes.
Yeah, so she was there too. And she was there with Dr. Paul Meyer, who's been cannabis doctor in this movement, for many years also. So it was a really cool thing. John Schlicker, Vicky, Tracy, Ron, everybody there. So just thank you for that, and like doing that stuff. And I'm sure there'll be other times too. Plus Botanical Company in East Taos works with that group a lot too for community outreach purposes. Also last week I got my first shot. Did I mention that last week?
Hey.
No, I don't think so.
But it's coming up. The second shot's coming up, and I'm looking forward to that. I mean, this whole thing's been really frustrating. And with that, and I also thought a couple of groups and organizations too. The coalition that was formed, the Michigan Cannabis Freedom Coalition, Sons and Daughters that I mentioned earlier, Redemption Canna, Michigan Normal, Michigan ASA, a lot of groups that we like to support, and they're friends of ours also too. I want to mention those. All right, so I just thought maybe before we start really digging into some of the stuff, some of the guests start coming on. Although Nick's joined us, which is perfectly cool because welcome anytime as a friend of the show, Nick. Currently not hanging out in the area anymore, but you can mention that if you'd like to. But I just think it's like to everybody kind of like maybe mention what they're going to be up to for Hash Bash and kind of what kind of connection you have to it. Just a short description from your own perspective. I kind of view it in a nutshell as a rally, as a protest, and as a celebration. And I kind of tap into all those things on that day. I'm definitely stepping into the day with the mindset of a protest, of not going further with some things. I really have been working on, as many people know, the descheduling effort, and we might see some legislative action in that regard. I've also heard recently about some additional judicial action that might be taking place in that regard. Of course, Comorn law is on top of that stuff. And Jeff Frazier and Michael and Alan have helped me out a lot with the nuances of this issue too along the way, and made me really aware of some things. So continuing to get people, out of jail, or maybe some good news in the air about that too. We'll see how things develop along the way. Stopping the big money resources and investors from kind of like gaining market share artificially by using their influence in the legislature and with policy and that type of thing. We have plenty of things to still be working on and protesting. That said, we've come a long way, and I'm definitely going to be sitting there also celebrating that fact, and very happy that I'm sitting in the position I'm in with this whole movement and with this whole day of Hash Bash. So with that, Rick, what do you think?
Well, there are so few opportunities on the calendar where people actually pay attention to what cannabis consumers think about and what cannabis consumers say. Business can command the news cycle because the news cycle is a pay to play scenario, but consumers don't pay to get news media coverage. So when we have something like the Hash Bash, it's an opportunity for us to remind all the people that are watching that the people who consume cannabis are the most important factor in this whole equation. That the businesses that supply are important, and the government that regulates are important, but it's the people that actually use cannabis that we have to pay attention to. And a Hash Bash itself has always been an opportunity for the people to express their displeasure or satisfaction with the situation that's going on right now. And Hash Bash will continue to be an opportunity for people who consume cannabis to express themselves. If you take a look at the list of speakers we have for Hash Bash, I'm going to bet 80% of them plus are cannabis consumers, and they're expressing their true feelings about the current state of affairs with cannabis. We'll have some elected officials on, and that's good that we do. But if we were to not do what we're doing right now, if we were to not have an opportunity where cannabis consumers can grab the microphone and get a little bit of attention from media right now, I think we'd really be letting down all of those people across America that smoke weed and do it proudly, and that look to this event as an opportunity for someone who feels the same way they do to speak the truth to people in power. This is our chance. So we would be shirking a duty if we were not doing what we're doing right now. Deborah Young, what about you? How do you feel?
Well, I first started going to Hash Bash when I was in high school in the 70s. And I remember hitchhiking from Kalamazoo. I went to college also in the 70s, and then I went sporadically, and I'll bet you I've been every year except for last year for the past 20 years. And to me, it's a participatory protest. Guess what? I'm going to be there. I'm going to go on the diag. I've had both the vaccinations. I'm about 6 weeks past the second one. So I feel I'm good. I'm going to put a mask on. If anything looks unsafe to me, of course I'll leave. But to me, it's a protest that I participated in personally for so many years. It's just not the same and no disrespect to the speakers, because there's some great speakers like there are every year. There's some people that I respect so much who are going to be on the broadcast, and I will listen to the broadcast on the way home, because this year Hash Bash isn't going to be like a whole day long thing. I'm going to go for like an hour because there's no Monroe Street. It's no big deal. But I feel like I have to at least pass through the diag at noon. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll listen to the broadcast later on the way home, and
So yeah.
So I mean, that's basically, I feel safer this year. Like I said, I don't feel 100% safe, but I feel safer this year. I feel pretty confident. I'm going.
Good. The broadcast, of course, is going to be archived. So if somebody were doing something else, anything else at that time, it could be, of course.
Yeah, and it's
checked
going to be
out
going,
later
like
on.
I say, for a few hours, right?
Yep. But I just want to throw in there, not to be a downer. I want to, didn't want to like cause any controversy or anything like that, but there is a concern. Numbers are spiking with the pandemic, and there are a lot of people online and elsewhere disregarding the concept of protocol. And that type of stuff. That remains a concern of mine. Otherwise, all for it. And I like your attitude. You're going to show up there properly, and then if it's, if it's too shaky,
Yeah, I mean, if it's shaky, I'll leave. It's supposed to be 68 degrees and sunny. When have we seen a hash bash like that? I mean, never. So,
Go figure.
you
Right.
know, right. So and it'll be short and sweet. Like I say, it won't be a whole long day, but I just won't feel like I've participated and I've protested. There's so much still to protest without going.
Absolutely.
Just sitting and watching a broadcast isn't going to do it for me myself, but I know that a lot of people are going to enjoy it. I'll enjoy it on the way home.
Those two are not mutually exclusive
Right.
programs. You can
Exactly.
certainly
Mhm.
do both. You can support the
Right.
virtual hash bash while attending the in-person event. Remember though that with the hash bash, if there's no central activity like speakers or music,
Right.
then there's no reason for people to jam together close to the stairs and get
Exactly.
something.
Very
So-
spacious
Yeah, it'll be
space.
spacious and everybody will kind of float away the way it was way back in the day. I've been to many hash bashes where there was maybe 50, 100 people and they just kind of floating around, and around noon, everybody smoked a little bit and left. I mean, many years ago. So, you know,
Well,
but
we've been
it's the
joined by-
vibe and it's the whole thing, you know.
I'm sorry, Deb. We've
No,
been
you're
joined
okay.
by Jim Salame. I'll give Jim an opportunity to speak about it, and then Colin, and then we'll come to Nick. Go ahead, Jim.
Hey, everybody.
and Mark Passerini is tagging along too.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's Mark. and
Just
Nick.
joined us.
Up, guys.
But
I will be at the virtual event. I'm really excited about that. We've got some incredible speakers. Hash Bash to me, I grew up in Saline, just south of Ann Arbor, so going into Ann Arbor a lot and walking on the Diag was always fun when I was a young kid. And seeing where cannabis has gone from that time and where I've come from since that time, it's quite amazing. So, yeah, I'm excited about this weekend. It's going to be about 4 hours. We're going to have incredible speakers, and it's going to be a great celebration for cannabis and hopefully some awareness for people that need to be downloaded some great knowledge.
There's a lot of new things in cannabis. We have more allies than we had before. Science is always improving. We didn't have Delta 8 a year ago. Cannabis and hemp laws are
Spoiler
changing.
alerts. Jesus.
Yeah, very, very huge, huge dynamism in the cannabis industry right now. Colin McDougall, contribute please to the subject of your hash bash expectations.
Well, I think as of right now, I'm probably going to watch the virtual hash bash. I don't have any of my shots yet, and I don't qualify for like a couple more days to get a shot. So it seems unlikely that I'll be fully vaccinated in time. But there's part of me that wants to go to the Diag. Like, it's just like, if it's going to be nice, and if I just like do it for like a half hour or something like that.
Right.
But I did edit a Decriminalized Nature Michigan video, and we had like 3 shoots. And finally, the final shoot was with Chuck Ream in the wind, and we finally got something capturable to be put on the Decriminalized Nature Michigan video. So it was pretty excited to see that, is what really I'm excited for. And I'm just excited to see that it's hosted by Anquinette, and I'm sure she'll do a great job. And
Yeah.
there's just a lot of other great people that I know that are my friends that are speaking, and I want to hear what they have to say. Hash Bash to me is a protest against the man. I don't know, it's more than just like hash, and it's more than just marijuana, and it's about drug policy reform. It's about fighting. It's about that battle that John Sinclair had to wage war against the state of Michigan back in the early 70s, and just like it's like a story about music, like rocking against the machine. And I don't know, I think that there is something really cool about it opening up with the Jimi Hendrix Star Spangled Banner cover, and it's like just like that era kind of can live on that day, and it's like in Ann Arbor. So I just think it's a really cool event, and whatever happens, I'll definitely see all the virtual event.
As we mentioned before, there's national speakers, there's national interest, but it's super important to maintain a Michigan focus. The Hash Bash has always been about changing Michigan laws, and we yell about federal laws, but the ones we're really likely to affect are the ones we have here. And fortunately, the Hash Bash Committee has really tried to honor Michigan presenters and musicians and honored some of the traditions that we have as much as possible. Nick, thank you for joining us from the Hash Bash Committee. You want to talk a little bit about Hash Bash and what it means to you? Obviously, you'll be with us at the virtual broadcast, but you're on mute. Go ahead, Nick, whenever you're ready.
Today, Nick.
Sorry.
There you go.
Sorry about that, Jamie. The old Alt A wasn't working, but back to Hash Bash. I'm really excited again, as I am every year, to just be a part of Hash Bash. It really means a lot to me and means a lot to a lot of people, and I've been able to see that over the 11 or 12 or so years that I've been actually involved with the event. It's really been for me, pretty awe-inspiring and inspiring to see so many different speakers through the years since my very first Hash Bash. People who were able to talk about cannabis laws as they existed in a really fiery, passionate, and sincere manner, and rally a crowd to understand and kind of get involved. There's been a lot of different groups that have been on that stage, and it's been a really, really big forum for a lot of different voices and ideas. And yeah, I think that it's infinitely important to protest, and I don't think that we will really ever see the day where that's not something we have to do. So it's excellent that there is a set time and place for a specific protest every year. And I'm excited to go virtual this year with the university not accommodating the permit process that we would normally do, and with the currently mounting global pandemic, we had to make this decision a while ago, not knowing what the future would look like for the Ann Arbor Hash Bash and the Diag. And so we're really excited to try something new, and who knows, this may broaden the horizon of opportunities for what we see in future at the in-person Hash Bash.
We're trying some new things with this Hash Bash, including broadcasting through cable systems and getting potentially millions of viewers to watch the live stream. Mark Passerini has joined us, as Jamie mentioned earlier. Mark, of course, a legend in Michigan with Ohm of Medicine and the Ann Arbor Medical Cannabis Guild, the National Cannabis Industry Association, the Hash Bash Organizing Committee, and that's just scratching the surface. Mark, welcome to Jazz Cabbage Cafe. And if you could, opine about your thoughts on Hash Bash and the unique circumstance of this year.
Sure. Thanks for that intro, Rick. So yeah, my first Hash Bash was back in the 90s. I went to school in Ann Arbor, wearing my maize and blue, go blue in the March Madness, as Jim turns away. So, I've had 25 years now of almost 30 years of Hash Bashes in my life. My first Hash Bash was 94. I was a freshman in college. I've been to, now probably 15 Hash Bashes in total. When I came on board with Nick and Sharmi, actually back in, I think, 2012 to help organize, it was definitely an honor to be asked, and it's been an exciting ride for the past decade to bring a really diverse panel of speakers to the Hash Bash stage over the past 10 years. It's been challenging. You can't make everybody happy. There's a lot of people that want to speak at Hash Bash, and we've done our best, I think, to mix in the old with the new, A lot of politicians and big name athletes that we brought to the Hash Bash stage to bring a little bit bigger names, and also to hold those politicians' feet to the fire. One thing I'm excited about is the fact that, you know, right now we have Gretchen Whitmer and Dana Nessel both speaking at Hash Bash, but there are a lot of issues like I think everybody here spoke about. There's still a lot to protest, and you know, things are not quite right. I mean, there's no state law in the nation that's really sensible at this point. So there's going to be a lot to protest for a long time coming. But I think what Nick said earlier is right on the money. I think this new Corona reality we find ourselves in does make for some, oh, happy 420, Jamie. Yeah, thank you. Does make for some good opportunities. I think that, you know, bringing Hash Bash to the online community and potentially reaching, you know, hundreds of thousands or millions of people, as opposed to the 10 or 15,000 folks that we get coming out every year, is a hell of an opportunity to really get that message out. And like I said on another show, I think last week with all of you guys, one thing I love about Hash Bash is that it does motivate people. It does mobilize folks. Out of those 10, 15,000 folks, if there's 1% that we can reach that will actually do something that year and get a hold of their legislator and show up at a city council meeting and call their, you know, U.S. senator, that's a win. And I think that's what Hash Bash does. It inspires out of a protest, because, you know, we're like I said, we're not even close to having really sensible laws on the books. There's still a lot of issues that we have to protest.
If you look at a county prosecutor who might be thinking about making a pro-cannabis statement, but is unsure how that's going to affect their election potential, and then you see the attorney general of your state taking a pro-cannabis statement in the biggest stage that we have all year long here in our state at the Hash Bash, you're more likely to say yes to that. You're more likely to be an Ellie Savitt, who in Washtenaw County has said he's not going to pursue charges against minor criminal offenses for cannabis or for psychedelic substances. You might be a Karen McDonald, who's decided perhaps to stop prosecuting certain cases that have some notoriety and a cannabis connection. You're right, Mark, that when people are seen publicly supporting cannabis in a positive way, it does signal to other people it's okay to do the same. And there really is no bigger format than Hash Bash in Michigan every year. I know we have a lot of conferences and conventions. We had High Times Cannabis Cups, and we have the Kobo events. And I'm not trying to disrespect any of those, but Hash Bash is it, baby. You know that's true.
You know, and we've discussed it on some of these other shows as well, but Colin referred to the fact that Decriminalized Nature is contributing a video to this Hash Bash. And that's appropriate, because this seems to be kind of like certainly an obvious adoptable kind of focus that this event can have, at least in part. And there's a lot of action going on with this group, and the cannabis effort, you know, helped to pave the way a little bit for this. And it makes sense that they kind of go hand in hand a little bit. And there's some news recently, and I think it's appropriate maybe to talk about for a moment, of kind of trying to get the state legislature to make a move on at least decriminalization. Now, that said, we talk about the descheduling thing all the time. Mushrooms and those things also are stupidly a Schedule I drug in the state. And I have it here somewhere, but in the section in which where it exempts alcohol and tobacco, and we're suggesting, you know, add marijuana there, it would be a legitimate discussion to have in the near future to be adding entheogens or entheogenic plants in that section also. But what's going on with that? Or, you know, address that for a second.
Yeah, so right now we're still trying to talk with legislators about introducing a bill that we kind of like crafted as Decriminalized Nature Michigan, and it's currently like in one of the like Michigan State bureaus, trying to determine if our language is good or not. And so hopefully we will be able to get a bill on either the House or Senate floor to basically take these substances like out, I guess, or not out of the drug court, is like what I think our decriminalization language is focused on. And there's like basically a couple lines in the Michigan Public Health Code or Criminal Code that kind of deal with all of these entheogens together. And like, I was actually kind of surprised. There was something that happened in like 2015 or 16 where like all these substances were actually put into one category in a bill package, and it's a misdemeanor between $500 and I think $2,000, which it just kind of says like, okay, we know that these substances here are like a little bit different than like these other substances here, and we're not sure how to define them, but I think that we just need to take them out of the criminal code altogether, and if there's a way to
Yeah,
do that
by taking it off the schedule.
Yeah, by taking it off the schedule.
That's the way to do it, just along with marijuana. That should be a discussion in the near future, in my opinion, once we kind of, again, maybe pave the way with the marijuana issue on
Yeah.
the schedule.
Well, Decrim is mobilizing too around the state as well. If I can add to that, Colin.
Yeah, that's what I was
We've
saying.
got
Like, we're
Southwest
trying to get
Michigan,
people.
Southwest Michigan, and the greater Lansing area's got Mid-Michigan now starting a decrim group. So all these groups are. Hazel Park is now on board. There's a lot of great things happening.
Oh, you're on mute, Jamie.
Yeah. So anyway, we brought that up before a couple times. I wanted to make sure we got that in, but back directly kind of to the hash bash discussion. How about going over a little bit more of the list of who we are to expect on the virtual presentation?
I could run through some of the confirmed speakers. We'll start out with the professional athletes. Eugene Monroe, who was the very first NFL active player to come out and speak for cannabis reform in his league, is going to come back to the hash bash stage. I think this will be his third, maybe his fourth hash bash. We also have Darren McCarty, who's coming back to the hash bash stage, Hall of Fame NHL player from the Detroit Red Wings. And we have Joel Zumaya from the Detroit Tigers. We also have Calvin Johnson, arguably the best wide receiver in NFL history, who played for the Detroit Tigers. Also has a brand in Michigan. He's going to be speaking at Hash Bash. And Al Harrington from the National Basketball Association. He's got a cannabis brand that focuses on social justice, and that's Viola. When it comes to the politicians, I don't have my list in front of me, so Nick, jump in if I miss anybody. But we'll start with from the top. We have our governor, Gretchen Whitmer, going to come back to the Hash Bash stage for the third time. Dana Nessel, our Attorney General. We've got Debbie Dingell, our U.S. Congresswoman in Ann Arbor. Earl Blumenauer, another U.S. Congressman. He's out of Oregon, but he is by far the most vocal and biggest champion for cannabis reform on Capitol Hill over the past 4 decades. We also have the House Minority Floor Leader, Yousef Rabhi, who's our representative in Ann Arbor. We have the state senator from Ann Arbor, Jeff Irwin, who also, along with Earl Blumenauer at the federal levels, Jeff Irwin at the state level has been our biggest champion over the past decade. He was doing this when it was not politically, basically in the past 10 years, it's kind of flipped. It was political suicide to support cannabis reform 10 years ago. And nowadays, if you don't support it, that's the political suicide. So that's kind of exciting. Who else? Of course, our county prosecutor, Ellie Sabat, who I think, Jim, you just talked about. And I think that's it for the politicians. Did I miss anybody, guys?
Well, I believe you said Rep. Yousef Rabhi, who is the state rep for Ann Arbor, and we have the written address that Congressman Earl Blumenauer sent us. So that's exciting. He's been sending us some addresses in the past, and we've been able to publish those in the handouts, the programs we'd hand out at Hash Bash. And
Jeff Oren?
yeah, we've been able to really kind of reach for the stars and get some bigger and more notable politicians involved. But we also, try to keep it local and get, in the past we've had some people elected to their local townships like El Witt and Eric Gunnels. And, we've been, as cannabis has gotten more popular, we've been able to bring some more politicians on board.
We had a Virgin Monero, I think, right? One time, too. He was the mayor of
Yep.
Lansing.
Yeah, he ran for governor, and he was the mayor of East Lansing, or Lansing for a while. Yeah, Lansing.
He's gonna run again.
We've had a lot of Ann Arbor City Council people actually in the past, maybe 5 or 6 total.
It's all true. Plus, a lot of people are going to be participating in both events that we're discussing right now. John Sinclair, Adam Brook, Michael Toohey, TJ Short.
Chuck Ream. I mean, there's over 30 speakers.
Matt Abel.
Matt Abel, Kat Ebert from SSDP.
It's going to be a good presentation. Hey, you want to cover some of the music stuff, Nick? Which is the other part
Yeah,
of it.
absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. We have been fortunate to have different musicians and bands and performers in the past. Most notably, Laith Al-Sadi has become a fixture. He has been really great at opening up the event with the Star Spangled Banner, and then sometimes closing it down with something like the song John Sinclair, which was written about, the activist, written by John Lennon about the activist who really kind of is the impetus for this event. And yeah, Laith will be performing this year, doing some entertainment for the virtual Hash Bash. And we also have Tom Wall with Cosmic Knot. Cosmic Knot has been at the past couple, and they're just a great party band. They bring a lot of fun energy, and they're sort of going to be the house band for the virtual event as well. We've had some different bands in the past, Ma Baker and Honey Monsoon, I know, and we've also had Planet Ant, the comedy club from Hamtramck. It came out and did a musical number with a play they had written about cannabis politics called Yes Weed Can. And so we've been trying some new things, and we'll have a few musicians this year, as well as Laganja Estranja, who was on RuPaul's Drag Race, and they're just a very lively, colorful, cannabis-centric performer. So we've got a really fun special video we'll be debuting there. And it's always like Colin kind of brought it up and really nailed it, that there's something very rock and roll about this event. It was born out of that same energy and culture of the late 1960s that just captivated so many. And in a lot of ways, we're going through a lot of that right now with some very serious civil unrest. And it'll be interesting to see how this all shapes out. But there is something very sex, drugs, and rock and roll about the event. It's very much a protest, and kind of sticking it to the man, and has origins in just saying we don't give a fuck what laws you write, what you do, and what you do to bring us down. We're gonna do our thing, and it's gonna be smoking a joint on at this place at this time. So it's important to me to keep that rolling, and make sure we're curating a righteous and entertaining bill of performers who also have some basis in Michigan or in cannabis.
Right on. Looking forward to that part of it. And Tom Wall of course, being involved with Cosmic Knot. He was last year on performing with a plant with the device that picks up on the waves, the electromagnetic waves that come off of the plant. It starts jamming with the music and stuff like that. It's
Yeah, I
really
forget
really cool.
what Tom calls it. You can find videos of his on YouTube, and he's been featured on M Live for this. It's really pretty innovative, and you know, we've had for almost 50 years people speaking about cannabis, and here we actually got to hear from the plant itself, which was I think pretty cool. And ultimately, it's it's really mellow stuff what the plant is making, as you can imagine. And it's exciting. Tom's going to be doing that again with Cosmic Knot, and it's just sort of a fun thing. And I think we'll be smoking the plant he played with last year. So
Can you
Cosmic
explain how that works, Nick, for the Jazz Cabbage viewers, how the plant actually makes music? I think it's fascinating.
yeah, I wish I could explain it better than I can, because I'm an amateur musician, but I'm a even worse electrician. So I know that there are two nodes to a device that will register the frequency, some sort of electromagnetic frequency, within the plant, and probably within many living things. But you attach part of it to one of the stems, and then part of it goes in the roots or in the soil. So that current is transferred into a sound wave. So, they're taking a electrical frequency, turn it into a sound wave, and then assigning different parts of that wave different notes in what I believe is like a MIDI function. So essentially like a keyboard. And so as those change, it will play, maybe within a certain key, but sometimes in different effects. There will be, sometimes it sounds like it's a keyboard, and sometimes it sounds like, like a stringed instrument. And Tom is just there playing with it. And while you'd think that there would just be a steady beat or numbers that go with it, it changes every time. And it really turns into a full-on jam. Things go in different directions and they come back to a head. And it's really kind of the type of thing I personally enjoy out of instrumental and improvisatory music.
It is pretty fascinating to hear because literally the plant responds. There's no other stimuli. The lighting
Yeah.
is the same. The temperature is the same. There's no breeze. The only variable is sound, and the plant responds. And again, we don't normally think of plants as having ears or the ability to be affected by that. But music itself is so much more than what we pick up just with this sensory organ. It's so much more. And it's wonderful to see that. And the plant that he used last year was called Cosmic Spooge. And I will be interested to smoke some spooge on Hash Bash Day.
I was just going to point out how creepy it sounded when you used the word
He actually,
organ,
if anyone is more
but
curious,
then to go on and say that. Go ahead, Nick.
Well, if anyone's interested, he was just interviewed by Larry Gabriel in the Metro Times. So there's a really recent article from, I think, a week or two ago about Tom Wall mentioning Tom Wall and doing a little interview with him and what he's doing.
A couple people we didn't mention that are speaking. One thing that we've tried to do over the past decade is bring some more medical professionals onto the Hash Bash stage. And this year we have Sue Sisley coming back, as well as Dr. Gus Rosania from the University of Michigan.
Yeah, Sue Sisley's been doing research and was well known for trying to launching a kind of a comprehensive program out in Arizona, and then having the funds cut off and all that kind of stuff. But some of the athletes that we mentioned have been working with her, looking at things. So
I just gotta say, everyone will see on Saturday that tunes in, but she has a great video for Hash Bash. It's fantastic.
It makes Jim laugh and smile, so I can't wait to see it. I'm I'm going to keep it in suspense and not cheat and watch it ahead of time. That's
A
awesome.
lot of it is pre-recorded, but there's the live influences like the music and some people that are going to be hanging in the studio. We're going to be hearing from one in a little bit. Q's going to be joining us in a few minutes and kind of primarily emceeing, and Rick is the primary co-host. So that part's going to be pretty awesome, and that's going to be live. Darren McCarty, who we're going to hopefully hear from a little bit later on too in the show, is going to be hanging out and doing some live stuff with us. So it's going to be a balance of things. I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to unbalancing the balance of things. It's so
There you go.
much, you gotta have a good time. Gotta have fun. It's Hash Bash. One of the things that, you know, that's special about Hash Bash is you get a chance to laugh and joke, enjoy some music and listen to some speakers, but you get to actually hang out with people. And, to a certain degree, the virtual Hash Bash will be that same sort of a thing as well. Looking forward to it. And the Twitch broadcast platform is intriguing if people have not been on Twitch before, although primarily known as a gaming platform, which, you can get lost in hours and hours and hours of watching other people play games and have fun. It's really an interactive community that you can participate in to whatever degree you want. You can register or not register and still watch the broadcast. But we're also launching a Facebook simulcast as well, so that people can watch it through the more traditional social media source if they wish. It's awesome.
Right on.
I was gonna ask Nick. I thought that Hash Bash was on 420. Can you explain to me that it's not?
So
But-
some elementary Hash Bash.
Common
fans.
misconception,
Yeah.
Colin. Yeah. Man, if I had a nickel for every time someone asked about that.
A script.
But it is also funny that Hash Bash typically doesn't need too much promotion. It's been able to grow organically because people know the date and the time. And so you can kind of tell if someone thinks it's on 420, they probably haven't been. Or they don't go regularly at the very least. But it's in early April, the first Saturday in April. It used to be on April 1st every year. I think they changed that eventually just because Saturday is typically a more accommodating day of the week than, Monday, Sunday through Friday can be. It's the history of the event. The way it sort of lined up was John Sinclair was busted for giving away 2 joints to some undercover officers. The short and skinny of it is, after a big rallying effort to get him an appeals hearing, they gave him one, and marijuana laws were ruled unconstitutional in Michigan. So they just wiped them off the books for the most part, and theoretically there were 3 weeks almost. This happened in March of 1972. There were 3 weeks that this was that marijuana really wasn't illegal in Michigan, and they were going to put into effect the statewide Controlled Substances Act to follow the Controlled Substances Act that was put in place by the federal government a year earlier. And that was going into effect on April 1st. So a lot of the hippies and White Panthers, they said, fuck you. We're going to go, break your law on April 1st. We're going to do what we want to do. And, it was sort of it was just an immediate reactionary protest to the, to trying to further criminalize something when your own courts had ruled your past punishments unconstitutional. And I'm pretty sure that the jury is kind of out on this one, but I'm pretty sure that Hash Bash predates 420. There are different, urban myths around how 420 came to be the, time to go smoke. It's always 420 somewhere, but it definitely, the oldest stories and the ones with the most credibility seem to be, from the late 70s. You can read about the Waldos and how 420 might have come about, but that was a few years later than Hash Bash became a thing.
Right on. That explains a lot.
Older
you.
than 420. That's a great hash bash credit.
I
Yeah.
think that makes sense from my understanding also. We're going to get deeper into this later on. We're going to be swapping you guys out for some of the old timers with the hash bash and John himself and Adam, and go over some of this history a little bit with those guys as well.
The Asper Cream crowd, you know, the
Yes.
guys, aches and pains. You know.
Hey,
Wow.
something I wanted to bring
I'm
up
in the
was,
Asper Cream crowd. Shit.
Wow.
the-
It's
the
too late to walk
evolution.
that back, Rick.
Oh, I love it.
I love my Asper cream. Don't get me wrong.
That's a great
So important, I
soundbite.
continue. So important, I continue.
Hash Bash brought to you by
Um,
Asper Cream.
But
Ass bash.
asking about like hash bash has evolved, and it used to be just Saturday, but over the last couple of years, can you expand on that, Mark, a little bit on that whole evolution?
Yeah, so for what, I guess almost 30 years, Hash Bash was just Hash Bash. It was 1 hour, hour of power on the Diag between 12 and 1. And then in 2002, correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, but that is when Charlie started the Monroe Street Fair. And the Monroe Street Fair is about 2-3 blocks away from the actual bash, and it's a whole separate party, but that definitely extended the day. I want to say that started at like 10 or 11 a.m. and went until about 6 at night. So there's obviously the Monroe Street Fair, but then over the past 3 years, I want to say 3 or 4 years, there's been the Hash Bash Cup, which is held at the, I forget which hotel it is now, up by the Weber's.
Wyndham?
The Wyndham, yep. And that's a whole nother event that I believe goes all night long and all weekend for Hash Bash weekend. And then over the past 4 years, we've had, up until last year, of course, because of the pandemic, but we had a athletic or a medical and professional athlete panel held at the University of Michigan with a few of the medical professionals and the professional athletes that were speaking at Hash Bash. They would, I think we had, what was it, probably a good 300 people at the last panel in 2019. And then, of course, there's just all the parties. I mean, I think more since legalization, since medical, all of downtown Ann Arbor. I mean, Ann Arbor's always pretty much embraced cannabis for the most part, first city in the country to decriminalize. But a lot of the businesses have just jumped on board over the past few years. And, a lot of the bars are throwing Hash Bash events. Obviously, all the dispensaries that have popped up over the past decade all have their own events going on. So yeah, it's more than just the hour of power these days, for sure.
Well, and
Right
the
on.
music venues, the Blind Pig, has Lathe pretty regularly, or the Mac Pods, and the Michigan Theater sometimes would have Cheech and Chong the same day doing a comedy
Right.
duo.
Hey, so from comments, Heather, who's helped us out with artwork here on the show and whose mother works with us up at the East Tawas store, botanical company, is saying that Asper Cream and lidocaine combo sounds like a good idea to her. And
All right.
and then Joshua says that a T-shirt needs to be made that says Hash Bash is older than 420.
Yeah. See?
That's a good one. There you go.
Mhm. Really, when you start talking about cannabis, you can go back as far as you want. Pilgrims bringing hemp over from England. You can do anything you want. But really, when we start talking about American celebrations for cannabis, is there anything older than this? I don't think there is. I mean,
What's the one
Wisconsin,
in Madison, Nick?
Madison,
Oh, the
Wisconsin hemp
Madison
fest.
Harvest Fest. I don't believe that's older than the Ann Arbor Hash Bash, but that's in Madison, Wisconsin. There are other notable big rallies across the country. The Seattle Hemp Fest is one. Boulder and Denver's 420 Fest is a big one. And there is a protest on the U.S. Capitol lawn, maybe. We're on the White House lawn that involves a big smoke down, and that one could be older, but I don't know if it's continuous.
It's around the same time period.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
there's also a one in Boston, but it's later.
Boston
And-
Freedom Rally.
Yeah.
The harvest in Wisconsin. So we've been joined by Q, Anquinette,
Q?
who He's
I
out
mean,
and about, but still making some time for us. So that is much appreciated.
Yeah, what's so funny?
And it's
oh,
not
it's funny. I'm at the post office. I've spent like an
Oh.
hour at the post office.
Oh man, which one?
Oh. Like, okay, so I'm in line, but hopefully I'll get there, and I'm here. Hey, in
Nice.
the car, so because I'm still in the I'm still in the parking lot of the post office, but I'm here.
Oh,
Thank you.
man.
We've been
All
having
right.
a great discussion about the Hash Bash, the virtual broadcast, and of course, you are the MC. Are you excited about Saturday?
I'm excited about Saturday. I'm incredibly excited about Saturday, mainly because it's going to be different. I mean, don't get me wrong. The first Saturday of April is always, near and dear to my heart. And I want nothing more usually than to spend an hour trying to find a place to park, so I can go and then hang out at Hash Bash. But since that's not going to happen this year, it is what it is, and we can have memories of the 50th and the 49th being during the pandemic. So it's double historic. So I'm excited to see the culmination of a lot of hard work that you guys did. Yeah, this has been I have to say, we have these meetings, and every week it's something new and something exciting, and just it's wonderful to see the outpouring of support and so many people who still want to participate and still want to get their message out, and recognize that of course it's not the way we want it, but it's going to be the best of the situation, and it'll be one for the ages, definitely.
You're on the board of directors of the Michigan Cannabis Industry Association, and here we have a couple of very influential Michigan lawmakers that'll be speaking, or at least giving us their videotaped messages on Hash Bash. We just ran through the list, and I know you missed it, but Earl Blumenauer, of course, and we have Rep. Robbie, Senator Irwin, but also the governor and the attorney general. How valuable do you think that is to establishing Hash Bash's long-term credibility as a political vehicle in Michigan?
Definitely, but I think it's what I like about it is here in Michigan, we knew for a while who was on our side, and who was on the team. This is an opportunity for people who may be outside of Michigan, who would never come to Ann Arbor on the first Saturday of the month, and partake in a cannabis rally. So no, I think that it elevates it. Because you have people of their stature who are willing to go on record and tell us where they stand on these issues, but also the fact that we now have this opportunity to broadcast their messages to a larger crowd. And so I think that that's important, especially when we know that it's going to be in clips. And so, when the TV people, get to it, they don't have to really worry about like where to find what, everybody's clip is around 3 minutes or so. And it really helps, I think, spread the message. Those clips are easier to put on social media. And it'll be a cleaner feed. So it won't, be the true, party atmosphere, but it will still get the message to the masses. And so I think in that aspect, we check that box.
But you can Hash Bash in your PJs, and we have not been able to do that before. So kind of special,
Yeah. Well, some people do come out there in their PJs.
I've seen some people in their PJs at Hash Bash.
So, yeah.
before.
It's not a pleasant memory. I tried to block it out. Thanks for rekindling that. But anyway, so the Hash Bash, of course, has been such a great institution here in Michigan. And I mentioned previously that it really is an opportunity for nationally for the voices of cannabis consumers to be heard, since very seldom are the cameras turned on the people who actually utilize cannabis. You have a very famous cannabis healing story, and it's been told many, many times. I hope that we'll have an opportunity maybe to discuss your healing a little bit on Saturday during the broadcast too.
Oh, well, I guess that would be up to the host. I'm the MC, so I believe that the person who's asking the questions and doing interviews, hey, it's a 4-hour tour. I'm game for whatever. Well, almost whatever. I guess. Almost whatever, I should say.
Well, while we have you talking about this, why don't you mention culture and what you're doing right now in the community?
That's what brings me to the post office now, getting those packages delivered. As some people may know, I got involved in this as a caregiver, and so first for myself and then for others, and that led to campaigning for legalization because there were lots of people whose needs weren't being addressed, and they also did not know how to access the services available to them. So when it comes to culture is a CBD plus line. Culture contains CBG, CBD, CBG, THCV, and Delta 8 for as long as it'll stay legal. But I love it. But yeah, so it's and lots of terpenes, and so I've worked for the last couple of years finalizing formulas, and now they're set, they're available for purchase. I actually just dropped off a whole bunch of stuff at Green Genie Provisioning Center in Detroit, so they're one of the first to carry the majority of my line in person, and everything else is available. Everything is available online at cultureclub.com, and culture is spelled with a Q, so QULTURE club.com. So
Nice.
Thanks for the opportunity. So I have a lot of things that I hope will address some issues. I'm excited about THCV as far as its energy and its diabetic control and blood sugar control issues that they're researching. CBG, of course, as you know, for movement disorders. I have MS. This is MS Awareness Month. So yeah, so I'm looking at different cannabinoids that could hopefully address some conditions that could use a little more attention.
You know, we could use a little bit more attention, your high tea events. Can you explain a little bit about that for our viewers? Because they really are special things, and almost anybody can get involved in that.
Yes, no, everybody. What I love about our high teas are that they're on cultureclub.com. They're by Zoom. They're free. So the last Thursday of every month at 7 o'clock, we do a Zoom tea party with cannabis nurse Kathleen Graham. So this is an opportunity for anyone who has any question about using your pharmaceuticals, or how do you begin using not just CBD, but cannabis. When you go into a provisioning center, where do you start? What should you do? All those questions that you are too embarrassed to ask because you don't want to look like the idiot at the dispensary, bring those questions to us because we've asked them ourselves, and so we've got answers for you. So for an hour to an hour and a half, we discuss a topic. This month was MS and autoimmunity. It's supposed to go about an hour, but this month it went an hour and a half because we had so many questions. I'm excited that next month, even though April is all things cannabis, we know that pain is the predominant condition that drives people to cannabis, usually at least in Michigan, and so we're going to focus on pain. So the tea party is two folds. You don't need to buy anything. All you have to do is go to my website, cultureclub.com. Click on the link that says join our high tea, and you'll get a Zoom link for that. However, if you want to make it a full experience, there are 20 provisioning centers all over the state of Michigan that have partnered with us to put out what we call culture kits. So those kits include an edible, cannabis flower, I have my CBD tea in there, and a chillum, a grinder card, an informational pamphlet. So we try to give you a pamphlet on how cannabis works in your body, sort of a cannabis 101, all in a cute little kit available at 20 provisioning centers all over Michigan and counting, hopefully. So I'm happy that they have partnered with me on this. They are sponsored by Select. And so because they are sponsored by Select Company, the vape company, I'm able to provide this free of charge. So all you have to do is, log on at 7 o'clock on the last Thursday of the month, 7 p.m. Have a smoke or not, have a drink or not, and learn from me and Kathleen and a lot of other people who are all on the same path of trying to figure out the best way to heal.
I'm Quinette Sarfa. Such a pleasure to have you on Jazz Cabbage Cafe. Mark and Nick, thank you so much for your contribution today too. I know our segment is drawing to a close. We really thank you for everything that you've done for Hash Bash, but also for cannabis advancement itself. So thanks again for joining us today.
Heather in the comments queue is saying that you are her hero.
Oh, thank you, Heather. Thank
Awesome.
you. Thank you. I'm just trying to just do what I do.
Do anybody want to toss anything in before we kind of transition to our next segment of the show? Nick or Mark?
No, one thing we didn't mention is we will be live streaming from the actual Diag too for I forget how long we're going to do it for, but at least a few minutes just to get a feel for what's going on during the actual hour of power.
Right on.
Yep.
Twitch.tv/A2 hashbash. Nick, anything you want to leave us with?
No, I'm just really excited. Looking forward to trying something new here this year. Looking forward even more to seeing everybody on the Diag next year, in comfort and safety and a show of righteousness. So yeah, I guess I'll leave you with that.
Righteousness.
Right on.
That's a good way to walk away. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks again, y'all.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
Thank you.
Great show.
Jazz Cabbage really has a great drawing power. We're able to bring some really wonderful people to speak to everybody on a weekly basis. Although we're talking about Hash Bash today, if you take a look at some of our previous shows where we talked about Leonard Peltier last week, prior to that, Richard DeLisi, recently released Cannabis Prisoner. Prior to that, Michael Thompson, recently released Cannabis Prisoner. You'll see that we really do. We are the cutting edge of cannabis interviewing here in Michigan. And we are glad to welcome Mr. Hash Bash to the broadcast, Adam Brook. Thank you for joining us, Adam.
Hey, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yep, you bet. We talked a lot about the virtual Hash Bash broadcast, but we also mentioned many, many times about how the in-person situation is going to be there. Deborah is going to be there. She's going to head down there too. John Sinclair will be there. You will be there. Why don't you talk about what's going on down at the Diag at high noon on the 3rd?
And then we'll hit some history.
Yes.
Well, Hash Bash, as you know, happens on the Diag at the University of Michigan. First Saturday in April. A few years back, we took a poll of the crowd and decided that as opposed to the event happening on its historical April 1st, which obviously wasn't always on a Saturday, it affected the crowd size. So that was one of the first changes to the event that has affected its persona, really. I like to tell people that Hash Bash has a much bigger persona than its reality. Hash Bash is a rally on the Diag. All these other peripheral events are related. They're not Hash Bash. When events started happening on the Diag that made it a very unfriendly place to be, and we took note of that and would actually leave the Diag at 1 o'clock. We would go over to Monroe Street, over to Dominic's restaurant, and we would take over the restaurant. And we hung out there for a few years. Obviously, later on, the Monroe Street Fair came to fruition. And now that party goes all afternoon. But Hash Bash is a local Ann Arbor thing that at the time, for many, many years, had no real competition. There were no smoke-ins, there were no protests, there were no weed events, for lack of a better term. So Hash Bash is one of the old school classics. And we'll be there. You know, I would not be there. This will be the 50th annual event. If you're not there at noon, that's something I always say, you know, people say, yeah, I went to Hash Bash. Yeah, how was it? Oh, it was great, man. We got to town. Took us a couple hours to find a parking spot. And then we walked around, smoked a couple joints, had dinner, and we had a great Hash Bash. Well, if you're not on the Diag at noon, you're not at Hash Bash. You didn't go to Hash Bash. Walking around Ann Arbor, that's part of that persona I talk about. But there are people who have a great time and think they came to Hash Bash by showing up and wandering around town. And that's because, you know, this event has taken on such a persona. You know, there are people who actually believe, and maybe it's just me, but I've always laughed at these people while they were talking to me. But there are people that actually believe that the law changes on Hash Bash Day in Ann Arbor, and that people can walk around and smoke weed that day and it's legal.
Nice.
Of course,
Nice.
these are the same people who question as to why Hash Bash isn't on 420. Mind you, Hash Bash is decades older than 420. And 420 is a modern fad that didn't go away. I like to tell people back in the 90s, early 90s, I was managing Stairway to Heaven, the head shop in Ann Arbor. And in the catalogs that the stickers would come in, there would be all of a sudden a couple 420 stickers popping up, and people are like, oh man, you should add some to the mix. And at first we kind of laughed at this because we knew about it, but we figured it would just be a fad and it would go away. And with High Times embracing it and Steve Hager creating ceremony around it, helped to bring it into the mainstream. Because if anybody knows the history of 420, it has nothing to do with the mainstream. It has nothing to do with being out in public. It's actually about hiding and not letting anybody know what you're doing. That's what 420 was about. 420, some people may not know, I'll dip into it real quick. 420 was the time of day that a group of fellas at a high school out in San Rafael, California, would meet up. And it was on the down low. It wasn't something you would never be.
Wasn't it supposed to be after they got out of detention or something?
It was after school.
Yeah, that's the story I heard.
And the point is,
Detention school, same thing for Berg.
Got sent to detention. That's the
so the thing is that this is not something you would have never put a 420 sticker on your car. You would have never put a 420 pin on your shirt.
No.
So it's kind of funny how something that was a secretive societal thing has now taken over for the masses, because the true weed people still scoff at that, if you ask me. And anybody that wants to get into numerology would know that 13 is the number for marijuana. And if you don't understand that, you can go figure that out on your own, because I'm not here to educate you on everything. But anyways, Hash Bash is one of those things that has spun off these other events, like the Windy City Weed Fest, the Madison Harvest Fest, the 4th of July Smoke-In. These events happened in their local communities, but never on any national scale. And it wasn't until the hemp tours of the late 80s, 88, 89, when Jack Hare was out pushing his book, that these groups, these events became part of a grouping, a tour. And it started off with Hash Bash. That was the key, is that Hash Bash starting in April was the first event. Then May 1st, there was an event in Madison. And then it would travel in the northeast corner. Don't forget, Seattle Hemp Fest, that's a modern thing. Oh, and you know it's a modern thing because it uses the word hemp, but that's another story. You have to remember, prior to the early 90s, nobody was talking fuel, food, fiber, medicine, and the word hemp. Those things were not part of the weed lexicon. So it spun off this process where, you know, every July in High Times, there was an article about Hash Bash because we would hold the event. They have a 3-month lead time. Boom, July comes, there's the article about Hash Bash. That article would help promote the following year's event. And the persona of this event got so big that, again, there are people who are coming to Ann Arbor this year that have no idea what they're expecting. That they just know that it's Hash Bash. Now, that might seem kind of odd in the middle of a pandemic, but there's been people coming for 30 years I've been involved, and they have no idea what they're coming to see. They just know that it's Hash Bash, and they've heard a lot about it, most of which they hear is not true. I will say that there's a lot of misinformation surrounding the event. As I pointed out, it's not legal to smoke weed in Michigan in public at all, ever. And that's why we're there. And that's why we're protesting. And you know, we got something to hang our hat on now. Madison, Wisconsin just legalized public smoking of marijuana. You can smoke weed on the sidewalk in Madison. Now, you can't do it on federal or state property. Can't do it on the Capitol lawn. So I'm sure they'll still show up for the Harvest Fest and break the law, and there'll be people arrested in Madison. But you can smoke on a public sidewalk. So that's kind of interesting that we've gotten that far. In of course, Michigan, we still have a long way to go. I'm thrilled that we've had politicians over the years willing to show up at Hash Bash. Of course, there's a difference between a politician and an elected official. We have very few elected officials that show up. The locals do. We've never had Debbie Dingell's the highest elected official we've ever had show up at an actual Hash Bash. Contrary to what's being put out there with this virtual event, no sitting governor has ever appeared on the diag, nor has a sitting attorney general ever appeared on the diag. And I guarantee you no sitting governor nor a sitting attorney general will ever appear on the diag for Hash Bash. They don't have the balls, they don't have the guts, and they don't want to listen to what the people have to say. So the reality is that these people come for your votes, they get your votes, and then we're still waiting for them to deliver. The simple thing of just letting people out of jail, letting people out of prison, that could be done with probably a couple pen strokes amongst those people. They haven't done it because for some reason they think it's a good idea to keep somebody in prison for something we've legalized. So, you know, the event has always been one of protests. The very first elected official to show up at the second Hash Bash was Perry Bullard. He was a state senator. He showed up, he smoked a joint on the diag, and he got censured for it in the Senate. Now, no politician has done it since. I used to put Chuck Ream up as a speaker because he was a Scioto Township elected official. He came up to me one day, he said, "Hey, I'm a former kindergarten teacher and I'm an elected official in Scioto Township." I said, "That's all you need to say to me." I mean, I like the fact that he was a kindergarten teacher, but the fact that you're an elected official, to me, that's important. That gets you, sorry about that. That gets you instant access. And why is that? Because those are the people that make change. And that's what Hash Bash as of late has been about. Since we got the idea to do a ballot initiative in 2000 with the PRA, Hash Bash is that place where we disseminate that information, because you have people that come from all over on the diag that day, and you can educate them about what you're doing, and you can send them home with flyers and ballot initiatives, whatever, you know, whatever your process is. So the PRA took advantage of that. That, of course, helped get the ball rolling. And when it came time for the medical bill here, or the medical initiative in Michigan, or the recreational initiative, we already had a grassroots effort in Michigan that greatly helped the commercial effort because we had to pay for signatures. There's no secret there. That's how it works. And this game, you know, we've stepped up in the political game, and now we have to play it like the big boys do, and it requires money and, you know, corporate help and stuff like that. But in the end, it's a grassroots effort, and it's because of the grassroots effort that got some of the early balls rolling, which brought on the big players. So, you know, Hash Bash, there's nothing else in the country like it, if you ask me. The other events, there you go. The other events that happen around the country don't have the political clout that Hash Bash has. You know, the 4th of July smoking in Washington, D.C. Is more of a celebration. It's not really that protest type of thing, you know. The Madison Harvest Fest, that was a Harvest Fest celebration. You know, if you look at the Seattle Hemp Fest, you can't tell me that that's a political event when they got 16 stages and music left and right. That's a celebration. There's a political bent to it, but that's a celebration. And the communities in most of these places have accepted these events because they realize what good they are for the economies in their community and how no damage or harm comes from it. You know, you can't find a restaurant to eat in on a Hash Bash Saturday in Ann Arbor. You'll stand in line for hours. I argue there are more people in Ann Arbor on a Hash Bash Saturday than there are for a football game. And it's easily proven because you can get a meal at any restaurant in Ann Arbor by 7:30 on a football Saturday. You'll be in line 9, 10 o'clock on a Saturday for Hash Bash. And they've been full all day. They're not full all day for a football game.
I think it's the biggest day for Girl Scout cookies too. They've got troops set their tables up just outside, just on the perimeter. And those girls are selling tons of cookies and shit. It's crazy.
I can eat a whole box of Thin Mints if I'm motivated. You know,
Oh,
that's
hell,
true.
at
right.
least.
Not to denigrate the Girl Scouts, but no. This is important if you're into cookies, man. This is like my big thing, okay?
All right.
If
all
you
right, let's
like
hear
Girl
it.
Scout cookies and you like the tag-alongs, the peanut butter with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
chocolate, all right,
Yeah.
go to Walmart and buy their chocolate tag-alongs that they sell for $1.98 a package, not $5 like the Girl Scouts.
And you probably get more,
$1.98.
right? You
No,
probably get more.
same exact thing. The difference is, I believe they're made by the same company. The difference is the biscuit. This comes with a chocolate biscuit as opposed to a vanilla biscuit.
That's better. Shit.
Thank you.
Way better.
Thank you. And the only
Those-
reason I tell people about this is because the Walmart near me has promised that if I start telling people, they won't run out. Because for a while I was afraid if I told people, they'd go buy them all up.
See,
But-
my jam has been the dark chocolate Oreos. This got the dark chocolate filling it. Dude.
I've been
They're
eating the mint flavor thin Oreos because you can eat like 4 of them.
Well, my dogs ate 3 boxes of what Adam is describing, only they didn't have the chocolate cookies. They snatched them off the counter unbeknownst to me. And we spent a very worrisome night because my dogs
Did they
eat
get
chocolate.
sick? Did they get
No,
sick?
no.
Damn.
So it just goes to show
That
that there's
upsets
not any
When a
real
dog-
chocolate in those
When a
fucking
dog
cookies.
eats chocolate
you know?
and doesn't get sick,
Yeah.
that really upsets me. They should get sick as hell and hopefully
That's
learn
what
not
I'm
to do it
saying.
again.
But that means that wasn't even real chocolate they're using, Adam. It's probably some fake ass chocolate because my dogs did not get sick and they ate 3 whole boxes.
Right. Well, come on, it's the Girl Scout.
Yeah,
But anyways, the cookies are a gem.
outstanding. Yeah, they're
Okay.
delicious.
I just want to say though that I have had the Keebler Samoas, and they're not as
Yeah,
good
They're
as
not
No.
as good. Yeah,
Samoas.
no, the
and
like-
Samoas rock.
So Walmart has 2
Ooh.
cookies actually that I believe they get from the manufacturer of the Girl Scout cookies. They get the chocolate tag-along version, and then they get the is it the Samoa with the coconut? Is that the one?
Coconut,
Yeah.
yeah, and the caramel,
Yeah.
the coconut and the
Now
chocolate.
Walmart
yeah.
has their own brand of that.
Okay.
Those are so
Try
good.
the
Uh-huh.
Walmart. This is Walmart brand.
Okay.
Oh, this, I'm telling you, and it's, you can get, here's the thing.
Those are so good.
It's
I want
$2.
one now.
So for the cost of one box of Girl Scout cookies, you can get 2 boxes of these.
And
So
they
we
might be
should all-
chocolate like crackers on the inside too, maybe.
That's awesome.
They might
Maybe.
be chocolate inside with the caramel and the chocolate.
Yeah.
Listen,
Shit,
I look at it
wow.
this way. I'm already shooting up the insulin once a day. I might as well
Right
put
now.
more in the syringe and enjoy the
why are you
cookies,
eating
right?
chocolate?
Oh
Shoot.
man, I
You
gotta
ain't
get some
even
before hash bash. I have some in my pockets for hash bash, Adam. All right.
Yes,
There you
Cabbage
go.
Cafe, helping America level up our cookie game.
That's
Yeah,
right. Killing
Yeah.
diabetics one cookie at a time.
That is
Oh
awesome.
man,
Walmart and make
I'll
I'll be
individual
driving by that Walmart up
packaging
north
for the
tomorrow.
pickles, man.
Mhm.
For
Hey, Adam.
individual packaging for that, yeah.
I wanted to ask you about that time with the Oakland County trailer. And
Oh,
how
that?
yeah. Can
That's
you
awesome.
Can you
That's
talk
one of
about
the-
that story?
That's
I
one of
like
the
that
greatest
one.
stories ever told.
You're good at feeding storylines tonight, Colin. This is
All
really
right,
awesome.
So, all right. So people have to understand that there was a time when we called it the hour of power. And the reason was they literally gave us an hour of electricity. And we asked for more and they wouldn't give us more. We sued them in court and the judge said, no, they give you an hour. They give everybody an hour. You get your hour. So we would leave and it was hostile. I mean, they arrested a couple hundred people. See, people think they're not arresting anybody. They used to arrest a couple hundred people and they still can today. They just don't have the balls. I encourage the Michigan U of M cops, step it up, fellas. I mean, we're breaking the law. Do something about it. Pussies. Anyway, so we would leave. And one year we got the idea, what if we had, and this was before the Monroe Street Fair, any of that nonsense. What if we like went to a city park and threw like a concert and did something like that? And in Ann Arbor, they used to have concerts in West Park. They were free. They're world famous. You know, MC5 played there. The Grateful Dead played there. All kinds of crazy shit. We thought maybe we'd do something like that. Well, West Park was too far away. You have to remember, this is the first Saturday in April. It could be 40 degrees. It could be 70 degrees. It could be rainy and 20. It could be snowing. So you never know the weather. We weren't going to have people walk a mile and a half to the decent band shell park. So we got this idea that we could walk to Fuller Park. Now, we get some great ideas, and I've learned over the years it's well worth thinking them out. This was fairly well thought out. There's one thing we forgot, and I'll get to that later. But the idea was we'd go to the city and we'd rent this park. Now, the park we wanted to rent was wet, and we knew that we wouldn't be able to use the grassy area we wanted. But we knew this going in. And the plan was to rent the park and then use the parking lot, but not tell the city that that was our original plan. And we were figuring out, what do we do for a stage? And someone said, well, what if we rented a band, you know, one of those portable stages? And we called around, and Oakland County has a portable stage. And my man, now you have to understand that the hash bash is the hash bash. If you're going to hold a peripheral event, you do not call it hash bash. If you go to the city and you say, I'd like to have a permit for the Monroe Street Fair, it takes place, and you don't say this, but your date on the application is the same day as hash bash, they're much more likely to approve it than if they think they're approving something for hash bash. So this music festival, this music show was named something different. The guy who was helping us with it goes to Oakland County and he rents their portable stage. Their showmobile is what it's called. And the deal is that within the county, they charge you one price, and then every mile outside the county, they charge you so much more. And they were thrilled that someone in Washtenaw County wanted to rent their snowmobile and drag it that many miles outside of the county because it meant that they were going to get paid and paid well. So we get them their money. We get the snowmobile. One of the guys says to me, hey, should I put this banner up in the back? And that would have covered where it said Oakland County Parks and Rec. And I said, absolutely not. Sure enough, the newspaper takes a picture of guys on stage at this event. It appears in the paper, and L. Brooks Patterson, God rest his dead ass, flips out that his showmobile was used for the Ann Arbor Hash Bash. And he goes nuts on the newspaper. You know, he's the Oakland County executive. So he's calling the newspaper screaming, because I get a phone call that says, hey, L. Brooks Patterson is nuts over you guys using this thing. I'm like, hey, we just had a guy go rent it. Nobody asked any questions, no problem. And that, of course, just like the time Mike Rogers put us in the newspaper, that blew us up and got us a lot of square publicity amongst the squares and the legitimate people. Now, the thing we forgot in this whole plan was that when you leave the Diag and you go to Fuller Park, it's all downhill. So I walked like a couple thousand crippled people downhill to a park. And then I got a ride home because I couldn't walk back up that hill. So I learned a lot on that event. The number one thing I learned is always make sure that the signage is right, because good signage will get you good publicity.
Hey, so with that, we've been joined by Darren McCarter, 4-time Stanley Cup champ,
Who? By who?
founder of the high quality cannabis product, Darren McCarty brand. He's ducking out during his interview.
I believe
I'm
like
right
John,
here. I'm right here.
There he
I
is.
believe like John Sinclair, I brought Darren McCarty to his first Hash Bash.
I remember that, and that is very true. Yep.
I've introduced a lot of people to Hash Bash.
Hey, Darren, you're coming fresh off another show, is that right?
Yeah, coming off my Monday to Friday Woodward Sports Network, The Hook with Tom Mazaway and Pilar Lastra, and just something to keep me busy as obviously we're promoting this, helps me promote this great plant and get out there and talk some sports or just be out there with the people. And, you know, the best thing for me is if anybody dismisses, like this is the kicker for me, right? My birthday is Thursday, April 1st. Right. And I know that Hash Bash is going to turn 50. I'm turning 49 because I was born on the day of the first Hash Bash. So if there's anything as far as my connection with this plant and what that day means, and Adam, I remember you, what was that, like 4 years ago now, 5 years ago, even the first one. So just, you know, to everybody who's on here, Jamie, you, Deb, Rick, Adam, you know, I mean, everybody that's been around since, you know, I've really sort of committed myself to this plant because it saved my life, obviously. But for the last 6 years and getting educated, I can't thank you guys enough. And this is another one of those times where it's huge and we remember. And unfortunately, this year we're going to do it virtually. But, you know, that's all in good fun. So we do it right so we can be out there next year.
Right on. And of course, you know, we are part of their conversation here. Just to balance is the fact that many people are going to be physically at the Diag. And,
well,
you know,
I'm going to step up and say Hash Bash takes place on the Diag.
You're right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll be there.
So you can do whatever you want virtually. Hash Bash takes place on the Diag.
You're right. You're right.
Just like
for all the people, right? Because here's the thing, Adam, you gotta expand that this is we all understand this is your thing, that you're part of it or whatever. But now the fact that with the legalization and everything else, teach these puppies how to do it right. Teach them right. We want to train the new ones, or whatever you call them, the norms or the squares or whatever the hell they're called, right? Understand that it's bigger than that. Now go to the hey, everybody do your thing. just know that you don't have to be there to experience it yourself to me, because it's about the culture and it's about the play. But be there with Adam, because he'll be there, because that's where it all started.
With
Is that
John.
not the
Yep.
point? With John. So that's, if you want to see the history and where it's at, there's actually a place, right? You can go and experience it. So, and be out there to experience it, because if you haven't experienced it in person, it's something to experience. But in saying that, don't jeopardize your health.
I would tell people that what you're going to see this year
And others'
is not,
health.
is not what you're used to, and it's not what you're ever going to see again. I would hope so. I like hash bashes that weren't what they are now. I used to go to the Diag and spend the whole day there, walking around, hanging out, smoking weed. There were no speakers. There was no
Yep.
noise. There was drum circles. There were local
Yeah.
celebrities showing up. Guys,
You'd run into people you knew, people you knew
Yeah, I
from
mean,
high
I've got-
school, you
I've
haven't seen
got
in a while.
photos.
Yeah.
I
Like
got-
maybe 100 people milling about in little groups. Really low
telling
key
you.
way back in the day. Low
But
key.
Darren, I appreciate that perspective, man. I like the way you sewed that up there a little bit.
Here, see that
Adam-
photo?
Right. So
Yeah.
Adam, you're right though. So this will be your throwback, right? So
I've been waiting for this for a long time.
yeah, no, exactly. So the fact that you're going to be out there, and the fact that it's back to more like it originally was supposed to be, right? And not as the commercial or whatever it is, that hopefully you get that experience, because wouldn't that be apropos for the 50th to be back to the original?
Well,
Just me.
that's
Yeah.
the key, man. That's exactly the key. That's why we decided we were doing this. Last year you couldn't do this the way I decided I was going to do it. Last year we didn't know what was up a week before Hash Bash, 2 weeks before Hash Bash. We didn't know left from right. We have an idea what's going on. We have some instruction from the CDC on how to stay safe. We can follow those recommendations.
Thanks for bringing that up.
From the get, I've said that this is not about that. It bothers me that people would bring up the pandemic at all. I mean,
Turn
if
it
you,
into that
I'll be
instead of
honest
what
with
it
you,
is, yeah.
if you have to talk about the pandemic now, you're kind of late to the party. We know
we
what
have to talk about it, just because of the reality that it persists, numbers are spiking, and many people are
Well,
saying they're going to blow
but
off
I don't-
following protocol. showing up
Michigan
there.
is it's one of the worst
Yeah,
in the nation
and-
right now.
And a
Yeah,
lot of
here-
people who attend have not been vaccinated. That's
And here's the
problem,
thing.
too.
I get all that. I'm still more concerned about condom use amongst high school kids, and we need to promote
The
safe
false
sex.
equivalence.
That
Come
too,
on. It's a
that
false
too.
equivalence,
You
though.
know?
No, it really isn't. People
It
know
is,
there's a
it is.
pandemic. People know there's a pandemic. They know that they have to wear masks in public. They know that society has changed.
Mhm.
And for people who don't accept that, there's no place in society for them, if you ask me.
Well, some are
But who's going to
definitely
Who's
stating
going
that
to
they're going to
police
show
that?
up. Who
You know,
exactly?
yeah,
You know what? If
That's
it
just
were
it.
up to me, Deborah,
yeah.
the U
I'm
of
going to
M,
be there, Adam.
No,
I'm
I
gonna
know
be
you
there
will.
with a mask on, and
I know you will. My
it's all
point is
good.
this. If it were up to me, the U of M police would enforce it, but
I
they
don't think
can't.
they will, though. Yeah,
They
won't.
can't. There's no legal way to do so.
Yeah.
But
So that's what I'm saying.
willing.
There's
Hold on.
people
Wait a minute. Please.
bragging they're coming with no mask
Wait a
and
minute.
shit.
I'm willing to give up some rights for my health. Are
Yeah,
you?
me too. Oh, for sure. For
Okay.
sure.
Then I have no problem with cops arresting non-maskers. No problem.
Okay. All right.
And
Well,
that will offend a lot of people who agree with me.
no, I agree
Well,
with you.
just
I
encourage
totally agree
people
with
to
you.
be conscientious and respectful toward others and
Yeah.
follow protocol if they're going to show
I
up.
have no. Listen, I don't want people to be conscientious or objective towards others, or however you put it. I want people to do what they want and be safe. There's only one way to be safe, and the CDC has explained that to us. If you want to tell someone to go fuck off, you be disrespectful. I don't care. I don't care how disrespectful.
That's
But
synonymous.
know that when you
with what I
come
just
around
said.
me, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire, and I'm going to let people know. Because I don't see this as an anti-mask thing. I see this, Brad Forrester pointed it out wonderfully.
He did. He described. he
There's room for
described it well.
9,000
Brad did.
people on the diet.
There is space. People have to do that though.
Okay.
That's all we're.
And you
that's
can bet,
what we're
you
describing.
can bet that people will leave as soon as they feel uncomfortable in that
Well, I
space.
would.
I bet
that's what I
definitely.
said. I
And that's
definitely will.
exactly how it
You'll
should
see me
happen.
running. Yep.
Okay. I mean, I don't know how many masks you plan on bringing. I've got 500 sitting in the other room.
You gonna be passing masks out because I've got disposables.
I'm
You're
not
just gonna.
passing out anything.
You're gonna
but
wear
they'll
a
be there.
500 layers.
They'll be there if someone needs one. And that's the point, is that this can be done safely. There's no reason to fearmonger. And the issue is, why would you show up if you feel uncomfortable? I don't know anybody that would. And if you feel comfortable and you feel comfortable in public now, it's because you wear a mask.
No, Adam, we talked about this earlier on the show, that without any central speakers or musical acts or anything, there's really no reason for people to converge on one particular spot or bunch together. So people can enjoy Hash Bash in small circles of friends, spread out as far as they want, with
Well-
keeping just as much distance as they want. Because there's no centralized entertainment, there's no reason for them to crunch up.
And
You
that's
gotta
my
know.
point.
Well, the only problem is again that there are people. Sorry,
And it's gonna be
Echo.
great weather, Adam.
there are
It's gonna be
people
like
stating that they're going to
68
show up
and
like
sunny.
that. That's the only issue here. So to
One of your
try to
two phones has to
discourage
be
it is
unmuted.
legitimate, in my opinion.
Jamie, one
Well,
of your two phones has to
I
be
know.
unmuted.
I know.
I mean, and I'm going to argue that the only reason those people started that is because this event has been politicized. That's all. This goes back 20 years. This isn't a new thing. Okay. I mean, you have to understand that Hash Bash has changed over the years because of the powers that have come up against it. The fact that the universe forced us to become what we are today. It never was what it is. It used to be exactly what you're going to see this year. And that was people coming together, smoking weed, de facto making a point that you can pass any law you want. We're still doing this. You know, I'd love not to have speakers on the diag. I'd love to have much better presentations where we don't have to worry about bad weather. We don't have to worry about people not showing up, you know, where we could really hear what some of these speakers have to say. I'd love a much better program. Unfortunately, the university forced our hand years ago, and we had to do what we had to do. I'm looking forward to this.
Right on. And I like the point that Darren made about it, you know. Get to go do it.
Right. Well, and the whole thing, Adam, I think my whole point is that you said it, right? The minute you said that you've looked into the CDC or what the guidelines, like the fact is that I think people want to know that it's not the way where Jamie's saying is that, you know, it's like no mask or whatever, that being a conscious cannabis user, that this is it and this is what we do and we're respectful. And it's the whole thing, Men in Black, right? Persons are smart, people aren't, right? People together. That's the whole thing, is why did the mayor close down tailgating down? Because he doesn't trust. The thing is, we show that it's not the same, we're stoners, this and that. You go out and you do that and you present it because you're responsible adult. This is, you know, what you're all about and you've been all about for all these years. And I'm glad, Adam, that for you, because this has gotten into so much of what it's not to you, but you've gone with the flow, that this year I hope to hear back from you and say, yes, I at least got this experience, because without the way of the world, I don't think it would have happened, obviously, in this year. So good luck. I mean, I hope you have a great day. It's going to be a great day.
Oh, I appreciate that.
No,
You should know that your autographed photo sits right next to me at my
I appreciate that. And on that note, the Darren
Mine's right here,
McCarty brand, I just released my first seed plant. It's called Black Eye. It's Purple Punch 2.0 by Face Off by Fruit Pebbles. D-Max Black Eye is out
That's
there.
great.
Pre-roll. Wait till you, hey, and you know me, Deb, is that
Yeah.
if I'm gonna have something with my name on it, and this Black Eye and it's pheno number 13, when you hit it, it's gonna make you cough. You're
I
gonna
can't
punch you,
wait.
and you're gonna get a black eye, and it's like, cause I want it, like I told you guys always, is that when it says Darren McCarty brand, that when you smoke it or use it or whatever it is, that, yep, that's what I would
Gonna
expect.
smack you in the face. Yep.
That's what
Send
I
a
would
case of that to
expect.
the Colorado Avalanche front office is what you should do.
I
Yeah.
need to try it, man.
I would
I
not.
can't wait.
Hey, there he is. Hey, fuck you, Berg. My man. And we got a whole bunch of new pre-rolls out too. So
Oh man.
Yeah, you need to come on Medical Mondays, man. We can all.
I know you sent me a bunch of invites. I've been busy, but I'm down, bro. You can always send me for sure. What are you? What's going on? What's the latest and greatest there?
Just chilling, man. Smoking some good weed.
Thanks for taking over, Darren. Hey, Ben.
It's-
Yeah.
You've been
Sorry,
doing a lot of
Jamie.
shows, man. You're awesome at it. I was going to bring it up too. Last year, you had me on your WJR show,
Mhm.
and man, you bringing
Yep.
cannabis to that stuff was really cool to experience and be a part of.
Definitely more of that. I think just, obviously, and I'm talking to the people in this community and that have helped me get to this point, not only with the education, but also the friendship and the camaraderie, what this plan is about. So I'm just trying to work, just do my thing in every which way, but it's coming out because they're going to know is that, I'm never high. I'm always fully medicated, as you should be too.
I'm
So-
trying.
Definitely.
I hear they're looking for a new morning guy there at JR.
There's
You don't want to
there's-
get up that early, do you?
No, fuck no. 3 to 5 in the afternoon's
Oh,
perfect.
yeah.
I might be doing. Hey, you never know. I might be doing a little more sports on there though. Who knows? Whatever makes sense
Cool.
and whatever allows me to carry all of me with me, which includes all of you.
Darren, what about wrestling? You do a wrestling
Oh.
podcast too. Come on, man, talk about it.
Oh man, wrestling. My wrestling perspective podcast that I do with 2 former baseball players, Dimitri Young, Jason Kendall, Lars Fredrickson, lead singer of Rancid, the punk band, Petey Williams, former 2-time TNA pro wrestling champion, then Dennis Farrell's our sort of brings it all together. But we interview all the best wrestlers. Shit, MJF was on there ripping my ass about being a stoner, and I was loving it. And just interviewed Eric Young and stuff, but I love wrestling, dude. I just love, you know why? Because it never lets me down, because it's somebody making up the story. So I can only be mad at the storyteller, not real life like sports. It just never lets me down. But from WWE, which Vince just ruined it again, dismantled the Hurt Business, which is the greatest friggin' faction going in WWE. So that's the dictatorship. You're better off to watch AEW. Impact or what's Tuesday? Yeah, you got Dark and you got Impact on tonight. So any wrestling, hey, whatever. It's
So
all good.
where can we catch that and what time is it broadcast?
Perspective Podcast is on all places that you can get downloads, but it's also part of Fight TV. They picked it up. So Mondays and Fridays they release it on Fight TV, I believe at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. But
Say
the
title again.
Wrestling Perspective Pod.
Great.
Yeah,
Nice.
and I know it's Instagram and stuff like that. Yeah, great interviews. A lot of stuff gets picked up, but it's just, it's the connection. It's the same thing as to get to know what makes them tick. For Darren McCarty, I got to know the why. Why? It's not right or wrong, but it's like, why does this happen? Whether we're talking cannabis or we're talking wrestling or whatever it is. What's the
Darren,
why?
last season you were doing commentary in between periods at the Wings games. I saw you a couple times. I've been to 2 games this season. Are you not doing it anymore? Are you going to be doing it?
I've done 4. I think I've done 3 or 4 already this year.
Yeah, it's the ones I wasn't
have-
there for 'em.
I think I have to look at the schedule, but the next homestand, I think I have one. And I know that, it's weird this year, Deb, because the season's so late and,
Yeah,
you're not
the whole
talking
thing's
playoffs
so
in
weird.
May. But
Yeah.
I always enjoy that stuff. And it's nice to see fans back in the building and,
Yeah.
stuff like that. If anybody's down, going to opening day, our whole Woodward Sports will be at the Brass Rail Pizza Bar. So we're going to broadcast from down there. I'll be down and
That'd
around.
be fun.
social distancing.
Yeah, I mean, they only let 750 into Little Caesars Arena, so it was really weird. It's the first time I've ever been in the ladies' room was the only one in there. You know, I'd be like, damn, it was really.
It's
But
an odd
yeah,
feeling, isn't
I
it?
know it was so weird, but because we were just there Saturday, we were at the game Saturday.
Adam,
It was
you know the
Kids'
feeling of being
Day.
the only woman in the restroom? That's
No, I do not know what it's like to be the only woman in the restroom. Fuck
It
you,
was a
Rick.
trip.
I do know what it's like to
Okay.
be an individual in the ladies' restroom.
Hey,
Yeah.
Adam needed to do that to
Uh,
somebody during the show, so I'm glad.
No, that's all right. I'm good with it. I'm good with
Good,
it.
dude.
Rick, and I wanted to mention,
fucking
Hey,
Rick-
I'm
Rick
comfortable.
won the
Can take it, baby. It's
hey,
Yeah,
we were
that was
we've
good.
been joined since by Tom Wall, and we were referring to him as contributing to music over the years at Hash Bash with Cosmic Knot, and for introducing the jamming with the plant thing. And just want to acknowledge the fact that he's here now, joining us a little bit to help preview this
There he
weekend's
is.
festivities. And there he is, man.
Yeah, I was waiting. I was being polite. I wanted to let everything, transition well. So how's it going?
Fine, man. You shared the stage, I think, with everybody here over the years. We have another weekend coming up. Some people are going to be there. Some people are going to be part of the
So
online presentation. And but we were talking about you earlier, man.
yeah,
Explain the plant thing a little bit. I mean, Nick did a good job, but get into it. Shape what happens here for us.
Well, we take 2 electrodes and we hook one up to the leaves and one up to the root, and we basically measure the electromagnetic pulsations between the two. It's kind of like a lie detector test, and you see that wave getting kind of mapped out on a piece of paper. When you think of a lie detector, basically you can take that waveform, and then if you have an exact size of wave, then every size of wave you can assign a musical note. So what they do is, as it hits certain peaks, they assign certain musical notes to certain peak sizes. So every time it hits that size of a peak, it creates a certain musical note. It's always consistent that way. I know it's a little bit kind of complex, but through that though, it takes that wave pattern and it makes music. And through that music, we've been finding that it seems to be able to respond to what you're playing and play along. Now, some of the devices out there, you could pretty much hook up to a bowl of Jello and get a response. So that those aren't really actually the plant doing anything. That's just a kind of like just a electromagnetic reader kind of thing. But the one that we're using seems to allow the plants to dictate what they're doing, volume control, note placement, and everything. And they actually can like sit right in with you and jive along with what you're playing. And I know you guys saw last year. I didn't know how it was going to go. You just don't know. It's a plant, right? And we played it, and it was great, and it's been going really good. It's been really carrying along, and we turned it into the organoleptic music genre. So that's been published in Garden Culture magazine. It's been featured on Mystic Michigan, which has been broadcasted pretty much all over northern Michigan, and it's been featured on a couple different radio stations and a couple different podcasts. And obviously, we're going to be doing it Saturday again, live in the studio. So pretty excited about all this.
Right on. So there's also a video that was created that's going to be premiered, I think, or showed for one of the first
I
times.
don't know
Anyway.
if they're going to premiere that or not. It's great if they do. I have no idea. But so there's going to be, if that gets premiered, that's a really good one. That's, yeah.
I hope that does. I suppose that's my understanding. I don't know. Jim may know better than me if that's
It all
queued
depends
up.
on how much people try talk. We all got to get a part
Put
in.
it up there.
Yeah. So the other thing is, does Maruga play with Cosmic Knot?
It depends on what the situation is, but he does sit in with us quite often. If we're like in his area of the woods, for example, last time we played Hash Bash, I had him sitting with us for that. And then we also got him to sit in with Ma Baker and Honey Monsoon. But then we also took him to Adam's Cup afterward, and he sat in with us there, and he played with us. He is going to be on our next album. He had a small part on our first album, but the mix, unfortunately, the guy who made the mix did a terrible job, and it got lost in the mix. But our next album, he's a main feature on a few of the different songs, and so he's kind of like the godfather of Cosmic Knot in a weird, strange way. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing without him. I wouldn't be talking to you guys probably without him, honestly.
So this is a dude who's jammed with Jimi Hendrix,
Played Woodstock.
buddy guy. Yeah, Woodstock. He's
Wow.
toured with John Lee Hooker and Booker.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah, he was John Lee
he
Hooker's
goes on
drummer.
every time you talk to him. There's a new thing, like that's amazing that you learn about, with this guy. So that's really cool, man. Is he going to be
Mhm.
joining us this weekend?
He's in Florida right now.
Right.
Otherwise, I just
Good
hit
for
him
him.
up.
Good for him. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Go down there and get some sunshine, relax a little bit.
I would if I could. So I,
Right.
He just completed an album with the Mad Dabber, I believe.
Yes, he did.
Project.
Yeah, it's great. I was just listening to it. He's really excited about that. He's got the Winans
Yeah.
on there.
What's the name? What's the artist name? The Mad Dabber, Justin.
Justin Bridges.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bridges. Yeah.
I think the album's called Might Be Funk to You.
That dude's a testimonial too for cannabis. I mean, I've seen him over the years not be able to walk. And,
Yeah, no, he's
You can recognize him from his stovetop pipe hat, and it's usually covered with pins and things.
multiple.
He's quite visible at a lot of cannabis events back when we were still having big cannabis events.
Hey,
Hopefully,
that reminds me, Darren, are the slapstick comedy tours going to get fired back up again as more vaccines are had and we get better numbers along the way?
Need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, you're muted, bro.
Nice. Appreciate you. Good looking out as always. Yeah, actually, Imagine Theater May 7th in Royal Oak, I believe is the first one. I got to do something tomorrow night launching them, but Imagine Theaters is starting to have a whole bunch of stuff. So I think in May we're going to crack that thing out. I got some new material.
Oh shit.
I got long enough.
As a side note, because Darren brought it up, Laith Al Sadi is opening up that Imagine Theater
I saw that.
live broadcast thing that they're doing, live show.
Oh, right
So
on. Tomorrow?
he's opening it. No, that's in
when we
the-
do them.
right. He's their first.
Oh, cool.
First-
Yeah. So
first
you
guy.
guys have heard something, going on as far as whatever it is. I'm sure that, it's all about the safety. And as we open up, the thing that I'm missing the most is smoking, sitting in the middle of whatever else, smoking with you guys, arguing over what strain's better coming from, which one of the fam. You know what I'm saying? So that's the big thing. So, yeah, comedy, weed, whatever you need. Let's do it. Band, Grinders back together. So I can't wait.
Can I
They
get
start opening
Grinder
up
in
again.
July?
What?
You-
Really?
You might be able to. You got to remember, I'm the second youngest member in Grinder. So Grinder's got to make sure that they get their vaccines, right? Because seriously, 3 guys are over 50, so we want
But
to
they
make
will
sure
have it
that.
by then. Won't they have it by
Yeah.
July? They'll have it
I
by
know.
July
then.
9, 10, and 11. I need
Yeah.
Grinder.
They can get it right now at 50, over 50.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. So that's what we
Yeah.
were waiting. That conversation was the one last month. But yeah, throw me email details, DMAC and Darren McCarty. Throw me what you got, and I'm gonna look at the schedule.
no, we've been to a couple of different slapstick comedy tours. Always a good time.
Yes.
You bring several
Hilarious.
comedians with you. It's top notch stuff. So worth it. And typically there's a charity associated with that too. Isn't that correct, Darren?
Yeah, always, no matter that. That's the one thing about going around, traveling this great state. And, now I'm traveling this great state with a freaking cannabis brand. It's to be able to touch so many different spots. But you guys, I know that Dev and Jamie and you guys have all been to the shows before. And it's the same thing, just a different way to meet the people in this great state, that we all have something in common. A lot of the experiences, whether I'm talking about some hockey stories that we all remember, be a part of, or just life, just the connection. So
Everybody relates to it. I watch the people in the audience and their faces, and they all relate to it, and they remember, they remember like it was yesterday. So it's really
we
cool.
all grew up together.
Yeah.
I mean, whether I go to, obviously if we're talking about the hockey, yeah, but think about TV, think about music, think about school, think about different stuff like that. We all, for some sort of ideal or whatever, have come from the same spot. So that's what's important, because we're all the same. What we do for a living ain't who we are.
Well, Darren, your birthday may be Thursday, but you did just have an anniversary just a couple of days ago, didn't you?
Well, technically Friday was the start of my birthday week, Rick, which you talked about, March 26, 97, which was the 24-year anniversary of Sweet Revenge. True. Every time you bring it up, I get excited.
Me too.
Just don't put a burn
So-
hole in your header. So in the car, but yeah.
No, don't worry. That's why it's out the window. Yeah, right.
But yeah, tell
My head
people.
wouldn't work. No,
Tell
obviously March 26, 1997, or I call it Red Wing D-Day, was the game that we got revenge on Plaza Mew for hitting Chris Draper the year before. But not only that, I was able to beat up the villain, the biggest villain, and then also score the winning goal. So, but when looking back, it's not because of what I did, but at that moment in the wing wheel nation everywhere, it was a proverbial, that's the date when you went, oh my gosh, it's going to be all right. Don't know what it means. It's going to be all right. Well, you know what? Fast forward, like I said, 24 years later, I got 4 cups. So it worked out. It worked out. You guys,
You say
if
4
I
cups?
got 'em, then you guys, I'm trying to get that fit. I lost it. Canama.
Right on.
Canama.
Hey, we are just about, we're within a few minutes, but maybe we can, if anybody would like to Adam Brook, anything you'd like to leave us with, man? Pre-hash bash, tell your people.
Oh, well, we'll be there Saturday at high noon, but I'll let you all in on a little secret.
Big Hoss said
April 1st, I'll be on the Diag for what would truly be the 50th annual Ann Arbor Hash Bash. And it'll be an honor to be a part of anything that started the way it did and has continued on. It started for me because my birthday is March 31st. So I used to go hang out with my buddies at U of M, throw a birthday party the night before, wake up, and go out on the Diag. So I'm just happy to be a part of something this many years later.
Hey, Adam, what, has it always been high noon? Has that been a
It's
concept?
always been high noon. Yeah. Yeah, that was the original flyer. It said Hash Fest, high noon, Diag, April 1. And then it was the Ann Arbor News who called it a Hash Bash in the paper. And that's where that came from.
Snappy headline or something.
Yeah, well, it
Stuck.
rhymed better than Hash Fest. I'll tell you that.
Well, DMAC, what about you? You got any final words or any place you want to direct our listeners to?
Yeah, Woodward Sports Network, 3 to 5, Monday to Friday, doing that stuff, talking sports, talking funny stuff, talking cannabis too. We're getting it in there. Obviously, Wrestling Perspective podcast, DarrenMcCarty.com, Darren McCarty brand, all that stuff. I'll be out and about everywhere I can. Check me out next Monday, Medical Mondays with Berg and Roach. You guys.
Oh, well,
Speaking of Berg, go ahead, wrap up.
Put that on my calendar.
And before, I mean, everybody kept on talking, but I wanted to ask Tom, have you ever had like a plant, like have a bad sesh with it? Be like, you know, oh man, you're
It was not
fucking
rocking.
trash. You're not doing what
Best story I can give you about this is Maruga. Actually, I rented an Airbnb so he could stay next to the studio when we were recording the latest session for our next album. It's gonna be called Do You, but he gets to the place and I wanted to show him what was going on, so I plug in the first plant that happened to be there, and this plant was playing so many notes so fast it was almost exhausting to listen to. And Maruga's like, man, I don't know, he's like, I don't think I can drive to this. So I pull it, I hook it up to another plant in the other room, and this thing starts playing some nice, like jazzy stuff. He goes, there you go. That guy's got the gig. He's like, yeah, you can have a nice dinner, smoke a joint. He's like, this is the way we do this. And I was just like, we're talking about plants playing music, man. So yeah, I've had it. The first time I ever tried it, I tried it on my weed plants. One of them just let out a shriek. That's all I got.
Right.
So you just don't know. You just don't know.
We were
maybe
originally
it's a heavy
scheduled.
metal plant. It's like,
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, that has to be out there.
I imagine Cactus would be like really low key, you know, shit. We don't do much.
Well, the aloe vera is what started it all, and we call it aloe vera. But that's on our album. It actually played so perfectly with us. We did our this only song we did on our album in one take.
Wow.
It actually played with us perfectly in one take. So, and that's going to be on the album. So, I mean, what are the odds, you know? But I will say, my attempt for this show coming up, and I would have loved to have done this in real life because I had planned on doing this last year, but I want to see if I can get it to play with us and play the John Sinclair song, because John technically went to jail for 2 joints, and you know how we all know the story. But here it is 50 years later, and if we could actually have a plant play with us to play the song, and it's like, it's, you know, with it being legal and everything and all the work that all of you have helped do.
There's that circle.
Yeah, I think it's the best that we could do for that. And you know, we'll see how it goes. I think we can get it. I got this plant. You know, we played with it last year. It's called Cosmic Splooge, and it seems to be pretty musical. It's
I've been
weird to say
saving
that.
this shit. I've been saving.
We all want to smoke the splooge.
It
Yeah, I have
feels like
care packages
cannibalism
for everybody.
Especially Rick.
almost,
You let me know where to drop them off, and I got care packages for everybody from last year. So it's actually the plant that was playing last year. I actually took it, vacuum sealed it, and I have it set aside. So I have some for all of you. So just let me know.
That's what I heard. That there was
Wow.
some
Bring it on.
Cosmos
Looking
Splooge
forward
set
to it.
aside.
That's
Well,
beautiful.
as we try to wrap the show, Jim and Colin, Entheo show, can you give us a little breakdown when, where, and what you got coming up?
I got a breakdown right now for you guys. This Friday from 4 to 5:30 on Facebook. Our guests are Rick Thompson and Jamie Lowell, and we're really excited about that. Along with other Hash Bash virtual Hash Bash organizers will be there as well. So yeah, that's this Friday.
Excellent. And how can they tune in?
Facebook, 4 p.m.
At what
the,
address?
At the NTO Show website. Yeah,
The Entheo Show.
the NTO Show on Facebook.
Awesome stuff.
ENTHEO.
Thank you. Meaning divinity within.
I learned something. That's awesome.
I love that.
Right. All right, Jamie, wrap it up.
Hey, Jazz Cabbage Cafe. Thanks, everybody. Mr. Hash Bash, Darren McCarty, Tom Wall. We had Mark and Nick and Q on before. It's a great show. I think we're all ready for Hash Bash on Saturday. However, we're going to be playing it out. Remember, no matter what you do, you can watch this online one anytime thereafter. It's going to be archived. So if you're going down to do the real thing, you can still watch this later on. All right. Thanks, everybody. Jazz Cabbage Cafe. See you guys.
Everybody.
Night.